Record on my computer. Got it. Here we go.
Hi.
Hi.
So good to have you here today.
Oh, it's awesome to
It's
be
so fun to
here.
be with you. I am excited because Don and I are going to be talking about muscle testing today, which is an intuitive tool that we both use, and we have different processes and how we apply it. So we thought we'd start with a conversation around what is muscle testing and what's the point of it? What ways can it be applied and used? And we have a number of different options. So we're going to start with that. So I'll say what muscle testing is for me, and Dawn can share what's true for her about it. Muscle testing is a way to trust my body with the knowledge and insight and knowing that my body has, because I'm testing my body muscles. And I first learned about this when I was seeing a chiropractor decades ago who was using it with me. And I went, oh, this is a cool system to determine stuff, especially if I'm feeling confused about something or unclear about something. So I use it for me. I also use it with clients. And I'll give some examples of that. But Dawn, what is your experience with muscle testing?
So muscle testing is one of the things that I use, especially to help other people make decisions. I think that's across the board, the way that I've used it, the way I've learned to, be in relationship with muscle testing. Very specifically, this is how when my kids were little and they were trying to decide what toy they wanted or what book they wanted to check out of the library, or the number of different things that they had in front of them to make decisions about. And I used muscle testing to help them decide what they wanted. And it was so that's how I have used it to help sort out the different options. So, and that was super helpful and fun for the kids at the time. So,
Yeah.
and
And do
then
you use it for you?
it's not my go-to. It's not my go-to tool for making decisions. And I just wanted to like put that out there. I have other tools that I use for making decisions. And sometimes though, and this same type of thing, every once in a while, if especially like with food choices, like do I want it, is this food better for me or is this food better for me? Determining if there's might be a food allergy or something like that would be something that I would use muscle testing for. And I haven't done that for a while, but that would definitely be something I would use muscle testing for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can apply for a bunch of different circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've used it for myself, and as I said, with clients. So also teaching clients how to use it, like if we're on a call and if they don't know how, I just did this actually a couple weeks ago with a client. We're on Zoom and he didn't know how to do muscle testing. So we went through the process, which we're going to go through in a little bit, and learned what worked for him, because it isn't the same thing that works for me. And so we both were asking a specific question about his circumstances, and we both used muscle testing to get whatever answer we got, right? So we were doing it at the same time and asking the same question about him. And that was really fun because we ended up in that situation getting the same answer. So that was
And
fun. And go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say, and that's exciting when you're both getting the same answers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very confirming. It's
right.
very confirming and very, oh, what a relief, right? We both got the same
Mhm.
thing. That must be, feels really right. One of the things I do with muscle testing, I do not use the word should. I use highest good. I ask questions, is it in either my highest good or everybody's highest good, or if there are two of us involved, is it for our highest good for the two of us? If it's going to impact a group, is it for the group's highest good? Like I use that phrase because the universe doesn't know should. It just doesn't. That's a human thing, and should isn't going to give you a really clear answer, or need. I don't use should or need. But I like highest good as the way that I phrase. So for example, for myself, I might ask, is it in my highest good to buy this book? you were talking about books with your
Mm-hmm.
kids. Like, is it in my highest good to buy this book? Or I often do this when I'm at a store and I'm looking at a new product, a new label or a new brand of a product because the one that I was using isn't working anymore, or it doesn't exist anymore. And so I'll ask, is it in my highest good to buy this brand? And I'll get a yes or no, right? So it's very easy and clear. And so I don't buy stuff that's not in my highest good to buy because I'm asking. So it's I trust this process, and it's a very freeing thing. I don't have to get all mental and, I don't have to go, oh, I'm gonna read all the details about what's in the product, right? Like,
Right.
is it my highest good or not? My body knows. And so I love applying it for those kinds of circumstances. Makes it very fast to get through a new process like that.
Awesome. I think can we take a second to talk about like your body knows, and how I think about it is a little bit different. I think it's probably helpful for us to have that conversation about like the trusting the process. What about the process is it that we're trusting? So, and you mentioned trusting your body. So is there anything else you wanted to say about that? Like what got you to feel get to the point where you trust your body that it
Well,
knows
it
the
worked
answer?
when the chiropractor did it for me years ago. It worked
Got it.
because I could feel the truth of the stuff that was coming up. And so I went, oh, my body has this wisdom. I should ask my body sometimes. This would be a good idea. Or I could ask my body. I not should, but I could ask my body.
Yeah,
So
I love
what's
it.
your perception of that?
So my my understanding of the body is how it's connected to the mind, and how the mind, our subconscious, is actually in every single cell of our body. So it is still the connection to our body, but it's, for me, it's really trusting that my subconscious, my super consciousness underneath all of it, my soul knows what's best for me. And that's how I relate to it as a trusting mechanism. Like I really trust my understanding of the subconscious and how it works, and how it works with my body in order to give me this, access this information and wisdom about what is best and in my highest good. I love that because I was not thinking of that to begin with, but like what is in my highest good. Um, so yeah, that's how I go about it.
Okay, that's good. That totally makes sense to me
Uh-huh.
because we're not separate from our unconscious, subconscious, superconscious. It's all part of who we are. And of course, it resides in the body as well as around us. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just a different, I think just having a different language helps
Yeah,
anybody who's watching this, like, oh, like,
right.
okay, I connect with it the way Pamela does, or, oh, that helps me, understand it as far as the mind goes. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
because we're one unit.
we are definitely one unit.
All of us. It's the
Mhm.
whole thing about who we are, right? So, yeah. So I'm
Mm.
gonna do an example for how I would use it for me tangibly.
Okay.
And how I do muscle testing is with my fingers. There are other methods. Don's gonna show us other methods. I put my fingers together, right? Like both my thumbs, and I ask the universe or my highest self, show me yes. And when I do yes, my fingers come apart. And when I do no, show me no, my fingers, no matter how hard I pushed, will not come apart. Now, I have two friends who have exactly the opposite process. Their yes is connected like this, and their no is this. So you have to find out for yourself.
Right. That's mine too. Mine's the
Is it?
opposite.
So I guess I'm the unusual one, which is not a surprise. That's usually the case.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, so that's how I do it. And when I get a really clear no, I cannot open my fingers. And I can pull as hard as I want, and there is no way they're coming apart. So I've learned to trust that no is really clear.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
It's because I trust the process. I think that I
Right.
have that relationship with this because I've been doing it for so many years and I trust it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so here's a question that I might ask myself. Is my name Pamelah? And I get a yes. Is my name Cynthia? I can't open it because that's not my name, right? So that's a really obvious thing, but it's a good way to test for yourself is to ask if, you're
Mhm.
asking your real name, what your real, whatever your birth name is, right? Because some people have changed their names. Um, so that's one way to test it for yourself to find out what the process is for you, whether that
Oh,
works.
yeah.
And another, so here's an example of something that is currently on my plate. And it's a yes or no question. Muscle testing is a yes or no question. So you can't ask questions that are not must for yes or no for muscle testing because it doesn't know what to do with the information. So, is it in my highest good to have bacon and eggs for dinner? No. Okay, I'm not having bacon and eggs for dinner. Right? That's one way to apply. And I do sometimes with food when I'm just too tired to think. It's like, what does my body want? Is it eggs? Is it bacon? Is it toast? Oh, yes, on toast. Okay, I can do toast, right? So simple things like that. And then big question, is it in my highest good to go on vacation in November? No. So I'm not going to plan any vacations in November.
Got it. So this is really interesting. I wasn't expecting this to come in here because you said yes or no. And I wasn't, and so in the way I use it is like to get clear on what do I want. Like
Oh,
that's
yes,
that's a real a thing, but it really is a yes or no, ends up being like an answer to a yes or no question. Is this the thing I want? Is this the thing I want? Yes or no? Is this the thing I want? Or is this the thing I want? So that brought a lot of clarity for me, actually. So yeah.
well, yeah, like in your kids with the books. I mean, it's either a yes to the book or a no to the book, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I found out for the kids, and when they were younger, um, we weren't asking the highest, what's in our highest good. That wasn't a part of
Right.
the conversation when they were younger. But if they if they got a like a no to something that they actually really wanted, they would be like, oh man. And I wanted my children to trust themselves. And I said, and I would always ask them, what, how do you feel about that? Do you trust that you really want that? Because we were talking about desires and what is it that you really want? And it would just help them get more clear when they were younger about what it is that they wanted, as opposed. So they if their muscle testing told them, you know, that they didn't want the big monster truck, but somehow they felt so disappointed to not have the big monster truck. I'm just thinking of my son at the time. And he would be like, oh, like, and feel so defeated afterwards. And I mean, from a parent's perspective, that wasn't the most authentic desire, right? So it helped me get really clear and help them as kids trust themselves.
Yeah.
So that was, yeah,
Which is the point of this.
that is the point of muscle testing, isn't it? Is to like really learn to trust yourself
And
and
feel empowered as a result.
feel empowered. And what do you think about, I mean, this is not really off topic, but kind of, as opposed to the yes or no question, what do you feel about like, well, the bacon question? Like you're not asking what do you really want. In that case, you're asking what's in my highest good. And I think that's I'm just now putting it together like that's the next level, right? Like how you're asking yourself, your body is the next level of that question of what I ask the kids, do you really want that? Of course they really want bacon for, dinner. Everybody wants bacon for dinner. Um, but is it in their highest good? Is it in your highest good? I mean, that takes a whole nother level of maturity and understanding and trusting not just yourself, but trusting the universe, trusting your subconscious, trusting, something other than just your mind that says, I want this and that's all I want,
Right.
right? Like the bacon for dinner. I think that's
Yeah.
a great example. Anyways, I'm glad that we talked about this because it's like opens up so many doors, like, is it in my highest good? Um,
That's where
yeah.
I've settled after years of not doing it that way, right? That's what I came to, because I also noticed that people ask questions. The question they're asking sets them up for not getting an answer that's in alignment with their highest truth. Because if they're using should or need, should I do this or do I need to do this? So it's like the universe can't give you that. Your cellular structure in your body doesn't deal with needs and should. It's a mental thing. So learning how
Mm.
to ask questions with muscle testing is also a journey, right? Because want isn't, like you were saying with your kids, I
Mhm.
want that isn't always the question. That's not always the question. It may be the mental question, but it's not always the highest good body
Mm.
question.
Well, and at the time, that was the focus. Like
Yeah,
that was their training. They were being trained to trust themselves and learn how to make a decision based on what they want, not based
yeah,
on what their friends thought they
right.
should have, or and it was, so that was such a great. I mean, this is a good conversation, Pamela. I'm so glad that we're doing this.
We usually have good conversations.
I know, but I'm realizing, as we're talking, like, yeah, we hadn't prepared much, and it kind of opens up like a whole nother door to how I can use muscle testing. Now I use a pendulum for exactly the same uh
Yeah,
process. And when I use the pendulum, I have a whole setup, which we'll talk about in
in
another
another
time.
video, yeah, we're gonna do
Yeah,
a
but
separate video on pendulums.
for muscle testing and I think for everything is like asking the right questions, like not the right questions, but like really fine tuning the question is really important.
And so sometimes I do that, right? Like I'll ask a
Mhm.
question and and something happens and it's like, oh, there's more to the question, or it's a different way to phrase it, or there's another layer beyond that that really wants to be asked, which is where the juice is, right? And
Mm,
so it's a journey. It's not always a direct
yes.
yes, this is the thing, right? It's sometimes there are layers of questions to be asked, and
Yeah.
that helps. Also, the word I know from listening to years and years of Abraham, that their conversation about the word want is coming from a place of lack. And so I tend to not use that. I use desire
Right.
as a
Hmm.
question as opposed to what do I want? It's like, what's the desire, like, but I still always come back to what's in the highest good.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I like that as well. Um, oh, super. Hmm.
So would you like to share muscle testing styles that you're
So,
aware of?
well, the one, and so now that we're talking about once, I will go back to the kids thing because I think it is fun to do this with children when you're at the grocery store, or when, they want everything and they can only have one thing, but they want it all. And us as adults too, right? And you said, want is means lack, right? Of course, that's exactly what's happening for a little kid, right? They want something. They're lacking. But I'll show you because it's a standing up thing. And what I do, and I'll see if I can do this. Put my put my thing up. So I have two two things here. They're exactly the same, like literally they're exactly the same. But we'll have these like the Ricky Henderson bobbleheads. So I got them. And one of them I'm going to send to my nephew, and one of them we're going to keep here. So this is the decision we're going to make. Which one of these two gets sent here, which one stays or gets sent off, and which one stays here. So I'm going to put one of them to my left and one of them to my right. And I'm going and my this is not the yes or no question. So yes or no, keep it simple. The one on my right, this is my right. Is this one staying here? And so this is the question. Is it in the highest good for the one on the right to stay here? Is it in the highest good for the one on the left to stay here? So we'll see. So here, I'm standing and I'll stand in front of it and I just stand with my feet together. Well, I don't know if I can do it, but
You can just, explain
yeah.
that, but just show your
So
upper body movement.
my feet are together. I'm just standing in front of it, like just squared up to it, and I'm allowing myself to just stand straight and allowing my like the energy to either go forward or go backwards, right? And for me, the yes would be leaning in, and the no is leaning back. And the first thing that happened when I stood in front of this was like my whole body just went backwards. So this one is not staying here. This one is going to my nephew in Ohio. So that's how I work with that. And then if there were more questions, like maybe this one's
Ask about that one. Is that one staying there? Because maybe it's going to somebody else
oh,
and you don't
right.
even know
So
that.
is this one good? Thanks. So is this one staying here? Okay. Is it staying here with me? Oh no, they're both going away.
That's what I was getting intuitively, is that somebody else
Yeah,
was
they're
getting
both,
the other
well,
bobblehead.
I rarely keep stuff like that, so it makes perfect sense. Anyway, so that is how I use muscle testing, and it's to me, it's so much easier to stand in front of something and just let my body feel like going forward or going back. And I used to do this a lot. Um, I used to do this a lot in workshops. I'm just remembering like when I would really use this, and I would have people like just follow, like stand in front of like different stations, and like, is this the station where you're not supposed to be, but like, is this in your highest good to stay at this station? And if they went backwards, they'd go off to another station. If they leaned forward, they would stay at that station. So and they would do whatever was, the label of that particular station. So I get them into feeling their body's response to what was in their highest good, that's fun to remember that, because that was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun to do that. Yeah. So the other thing is, I have done like just yes and no cards, because sometimes, with this leaning forward, and I want to, because I trust this type, this thing, I just is too hard for me, right?
Yeah,
So
that doesn't work for everybody.
it doesn't work
Yeah.
for me, but I do trust the like my body leaning forward. Yes. And so I'll sometimes I'll put a yes and a no, and I'll put them on index cards, and I will lean forward. Or if there's two different places, like two different vacation options or something, I'll put right front of them on one list, and the other on the other list, on the other card. And I'll put my body in front of them, and I'll see which one my body leans into, and like, oh, it's in my highest good. And probably at this state, I would put in a third option. Like, is there something else that would be in my highest good, right? Is there another option? As opposed to like, these are the only two options that I'm looking at. So that's how I
And
would
like
use
with
it.
the bobblehead, you got no's on both of them. So,
Yeah, they're
if
both
you had
gone.
if you had a third bobblehead, maybe it would have stayed.
Right. Maybe it would have.
But maybe
Exactly.
not.
I highly doubt it. It's going to stay until the person who it's going to,
Makes themselves
shows
known.
up,
Yes,
right? Yeah, makes
exactly.
himself known. So
Yeah.
that's how I use it. And I mean, that the whole body response and feeling that feels so good to me. And then the other way, and I've had my kids do that too. And the other way, do you want me to share the other way that
Well,
I?
yeah, and I just want to add an example, another example
Okay.
for what you're doing, because you could do 3 cards, but you could do 6. You could do, there's no limit on the number of things when you're doing that
Yeah.
body thing,
Yes.
for your body to go, and you might get 2 yeses.
Hmm.
And then you might have to ask another question. If you really need to make a choice between them,
Hmm.
there might be another question to ask in order to find out what the final yes is,
Yeah.
as an example.
Yeah. And as an example, if I get two yeses, it's usually about timing. Like one of them, it's
Okay,
time, and the other one, it's not quite time yet. But and
yeah, so that's
I'll
another
go to a
question to ask, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
So, yeah, and then you can do the same thing. You could put out 6
mm,
cards and do this, same
mhm.
process, so, yeah, any of this works.
And with this, you could probably, I mean, all you have to do is think about them, right? Like
Yeah,
literally, you just think about like, oh, is it this or that? What about green or blue or, whatever the options are, and is it in my highest good? Um, so that's the advantage. That's a big advantage of being able to do this when, especially if you don't have a lot of room
yeah.
to do full body muscle testing.
Plus, I do it, I do this with clients on the phone, so
Mhm.
or on Zoom, it's just gonna be so fast and so much easier to do this and not have to put anything out and if I need to do something at a physical level, then I can do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so there are choices, there's a spectrum of
There
choices.
is a spectrum. And
Okay,
it's,
so there's,
well, I was just gonna just remind us that it is about trusting ourselves and
yeah,
finding the thing that we can trust,
right,
finding the method. Mhm.
yeah. So Dawn's going to show us another muscle testing method, which is something, this was the first way I also got exposed to it, so.
Yeah. So this way is you kind of need somebody else to do it with. And that is, you stand up and put one arm out, and in your putting one arm out, somebody else will go behind you and you do the testing first, like show me your yes. And it's usually for me, it's usually your arm doesn't move. Maybe
Right.
for Pamelah, it's the
No, the
opposite.
no goes down for me too,
Right.
so,
And then the no is like you're just weaker, right? With the no. It's like your muscles don't have the strength for the no, right? For the untruth, right? So it's
right.
just like you're so much stronger with the truth than you are with the untruth. So in the muscle testing, you're going to stand like this and have somebody stand beside you and just put two fingers. It doesn't take much. And then they press down and you will be able to tell right away whether or not. And Pamelah, the thing with the name, like that's an easy muscle testing uh way to hear your yes and no, feel it, is because, is your name Dawn? Yeah. Is your name Pamelah? Is my name Pamelah? Like, no, my name is not Pamelah, my name is Dawn. So that muscle testing is really good. And I suppose I could probably do it like this. I mean,
Yeah, by
I
yourself, yeah,
do it
try it,
myself like
try it,
this. Mm.
ask your name.
uh, is my name Dawn? Or you can even make a statement like, my name is Dawn, which is how I learned to do
Right,
it to begin with. My
yeah,
name is Dawn. My name is Pamelah. Ooh, yeah,
yeah,
not. But like actually it doesn't go down very far when you
it
do
doesn't
that.
go
So,
very far, yeah,
but you can feel it. Um,
yeah. Mine doesn't go
so
down very far when other people do it, unless there's a huge
huge,
no, a
no.
really big no, and then it will go, whew,
Right, exactly.
yeah,
You just reminded me, I used to do this with high school kids too, like that type of muscle testing, and had them do it with each other because they could feel, I mean, this goes into the energy, into our energy, and how our positive energy creates a strength inside of us, and a negative energy creates like weakness. Is I would have them think a positive thought and feel how strong their inner being is when they're thinking positively. And then when they're thinking a negative thought or thinking something bad will happen in the future, right? Like it's just your body cannot stand, right? It just can't stand in a lie
It
or
weakens.
that's
It
not truth,
weakens in a
right?
lie. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was that's just another thing that came to my mind right now. I'm just like, oh yeah, I used to do this a lot.
So I'm just getting this really great, no matter which system you're using, a really great
Mhm.
insight about what you're just saying about how your body responds. Truth you is truth energy flowing through your body is strength. Like
Mhm.
that's what I'm hearing is, because for those of you who don't know, I hear words a lot from my intuitive skill
Yeah.
set. So I'm hearing that truth in your body shows up as strength. Because when you're doing that muscle testing, you're trying to resist, right?
Mhm.
And like, so my name is Pamelah, right? So I'm resisting, my arm will not move at all. My name is David, right? I just like
Right.
can't keep it
Yeah.
up. So, um, but yeah, so the non-truth weakens the body.
Except for you, Pamela, in this, because that's the opposite for you.
Well, the way that it shows up is the opposite, but that
Right.
doesn't mean my body is weak
No,
because
no, no,
I'm hearing
no.
that.
Right.
No,
I'm just saying that
yeah.
yeah, that in that, yes, you got
Oh
it.
yeah, because yes, my yes is showing up as open and my truth is showing up as no,
Right.
because the energy isn't moving.
Hmm.
That's what I've always interpreted this. The no is there's no
Hmm.
movement, there's no energy movement.
I'm
That's why,
wondering
yeah,
if this consciousness doesn't change that. With the strength, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
yeah, so
yeah. So we'll see. It may end up
mm,
changing at some point. I may
yeah.
look at that. But yeah, so looking at, so it is
Mm,
the body sustaining things that aren't true for your highest good, that aren't in your highest good,
mm.
weakens the body, right? That's kind of an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, it totally does. I mean, that's why we get sick and that's why stress happens because we're what you would say not living our purpose, which is not
Yeah,
living our truth. And that causes some internal wobbling.
it does.
So
Yeah. So this is a great tool. Muscle testing is a great tool to use on all kinds of situations, depending on what's up for you. And, but is it in your highest good? Is it in your truths? That's maybe another way to ask that question. It is in my highest truths, right? Or is it
yeah,
for my highest truths? Or does this align with my highest truths?
yeah.
Different questions that you can ask. Practice. Try different stuff out, see what works.
And so do you want to talk about how like for you, you like other people and you do this for other people? Um, and I guess I do as well, but I don't typically, my go-to is like, let me find my own highest truth, right? Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Like
Yeah,
having,
so I just did this the other night. I think it was even yesterday. I was on the phone with a friend who, in the conversation we were in, she was in a lot of turmoil and very much in her head. So it was hard for her to settle into her body enough to even go there. So I just asked the question, is it in the highest good for X to happen? And I got such a clear no, because it it was not in the highest good for this person to leave the situation that they're in, right? So that was the question. Is it in the highest good for this person to leave? And I got such a strong no. So then I asked for how long. And so I did, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I got 3 weeks. So I was also using it to test timeline for that particular circumstance, right? So it was really helpful because when she heard that, she could calm down to a place where she could get
Mm.
centered into a different perspective and then tune in and see if it's right. But it helped
Mhm.
her get centered enough to go there. And so that's the purpose it served. But she ultimately makes the choice, right?
Right.
Not my choice, but I'm just bringing in, this is what I'm hearing from the universe or what I'm getting from the universe around the situation.
And you just gave me like this huge insight. I feel like it's huge. Maybe it's you already have figured this out of like why and when do we want to do muscle testing? Like really like when is the best, most optimal time to do muscle testing or use any of our intuitive tools? And what I'm getting now is like sometimes the emotional stuff that's going around is just so much that we're not hearing, because you're a clear channel. You get stuff all the time.
Oh,
You're not always sitting around going muscle testing everything,
right.
right? But occasionally there's a situation because this is what with me with my kids, like I don't know, like I can't help them. Like literally, like this, like, I can't help them. This is too much for me. Like, and the muscle testing was a tool to take off, like uh to put the power back on them in a way that wasn't like I'm not getting emotionally involved in their process and sometimes when I get emotionally involved in somebody else's process, this is just me personally, my intuition is not a clear channel. Like
Hmm.
I'm because I'm emotionally right invested or like I just want to get out of the store, kid, right? Like that's usually what was happening. Come on, let's move along. I need to get to you know, the other,
Next
the
errand.
produce aisle. We don't need to stay here. So, um, but it helps, like there's just something about like what I'm sensing right now is like that these tools help us when we're uh emotionally charged. And it takes it helps us get out of our head and also get out of like the emotional, like what we think should be the shoulds, right? Like what you should do. And it gets us out of our projections also is what I'm hearing is like we're not projecting what we think the other person should do. Like let's do some
Yeah.
muscle testing. Let's look at this from a objective perspective. And I think that that's what all these intuitive tools really do is help us be more objective. So that's what I'm
Detached from
getting right now.
outcome is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, detached from the
Yes.
outcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So regardless, and like you said, regardless if they listen to you or not,
Right.
you relay the message. And we can do that. Sometimes it's easier than others, I'll just say. But there's sometimes like the muscle testing is super helpful in that case. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So sometimes it just provides a door for a different conversation or changes the energy or calms the situation
Yeah.
down or gets centered on where the energy really is versus where the
Yes.
mind thinks it is,
Yeah.
because if I'm asking highest good questions, then,
Hmm.
and in that case, there were multiple people involved. So I was asking, is it in the highest good for everybody? Right? That was the question. And the
Hmm.
highest good for everybody for the circumstance to be the way, because she was sure it's going to be a different way. I said, I'm not getting that. So she
Mm.
has to decide, but still, she trusts me. And so she trusts that my insight may have some truth to it that she can then investigate that she may not have considered,
Yeah.
which
I
is
love
because
that.
I am a clear channel. Well, I'm not attached to outcome for other people when I'm doing muscle testing.
Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I've experienced that you're not attached to outcomes.
Right.
And I know that you're not attached to outcomes when you're channeling for other people either.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I
that's
know, because I just hear stuff. I mean, I get
mhm.
these I either get an image or I get words coming in my right ear, and I know when that's happening, that is for the highest good for whoever is here, because I made an agreement with my
Mhm.
guidance earlier this year that they're not going to show me anything or give me anything that I'm not allowed to pass on. Like, because I had way too much stuff going on in my field. So that has narrowed down. So now I trust if it's coming through, it's because it's being
Mhm.
asked for in this situation, or it wouldn't be coming
Mhm.
through because I trust that relationship with my guidance, just like I'm not detached to the outcome, right? So I'm just
Mhm.
going to say it, right? Either
Yeah.
that sinks in or it doesn't, either it gets accepted or it doesn't, and whatever, but I'm not attached.
Well, I think that that's a pretty, it's a requirement, and this is what I'm getting. It's a requirement if we're going to help other people intuitively to not be attached. I think in our, in younger years for myself, like I might have wanted to be more intuitive so I can guide or control situations, like, but as you get more mature and as you become more really in it, you realize like the guiding and controlling is so not helpful, right? So you just like end up, backing up a lot and are able to detach so much easier. And tools are so helpful. Yeah.
They are, they are.
So so with the muscle testing with your chiropractor, what are some other places that you've used it that I don't know, maybe we haven't talked about yet? Can you think of anything else, or is anything else coming to mind?
Um, hmm. Sometimes I'll use it for driving. Is
Okay.
this the right time to go? Is it my house good to go now? Or wait till later. But usually I'm just having that conversation with my guide. So, but it's a way that it could be applied,
Mm-hmm.
because timing, like you were talking about, like maybe you got two yeses for a vacation, but the timing is the question, right?
Right.
It's not the locations, it's the timing. So timing is another way to apply it. Is it the right time? Because I also know from all the work I've done around taking the next step that most people are multiple steps ahead. And it's not the right time to take that step because they don't have all the resources they need. And then they feel like they failed or frustrated because they're not taking the next step, right? So it may be the wrong time to be taking steps for you because you don't have everything you need, right? So
Right. Which when you just talk about muscle testing, if you're asking the question, is this in my highest good? It and you're getting a no, but you're disappointed because you got a no. That's a great time to then shift the question to timing.
right,
Because if you're disappointed, it might just be because it's not the right time for it. And maybe
exactly.
you're third, like you were just saying, maybe you're three steps ahead and what's being asked for is like what's in my highest good right now. It's
Yes.
not a no forever, it's a no for right now. And I think that's a really hard lesson, at least for me to learn, is that when I get a no, because I don't like to get no's, right? So I'm much more asking questions that I want a yes to, um, because that's the energy of it. But I'm excited about it. I'm wanting, I'm wanting something in this, and this is a really this is really good reminder for me is to then step back and ask about the timing. um, and
Yeah, to discern.
yes, and I have new inspiration and new energy for, this is really a place I'm going to use muscle testing moving forward is more about timing because I'm having some
Yes.
really interesting like challenges around timing right now. And again, like lots of things are happening. I'll just talk about myself for a minute. Lots of things are happening and the energy is like all over the place and I want to know everything, right? Like I want to know like how's this going to turn out, but the little questions that will help me be in my center and stay stay myself and stay calm are really about timing, like about presence, about what's now for me, as opposed to, I don't really need to know the whole map. I don't need to see the whole
Right.
map. I don't need to know the whole map. It probably wouldn't look like it's going to look anyways, even if I did. So this is a helpful,
Yeah.
I feel inspired for new energy around muscle
Yes.
testing.
And we hear, what I'm hearing is that one of the questions you can ask around timing is this the best time? Is this the best time for my highest good, or is this the best time for the group? And it,
Mhm.
or you can add, if you're getting a no, the question may like, is it the best? Like if I asked a question, is it the best time for me to really concentrate on working on my novel right now? Like this month, for the month of October, is it in my highest good and the best time for me to work on my novel? And I get a yes. So is it also then, I want to ask another question, is it in my highest good, timing wise, to work on this like 3 days a week? No. 4 days a week? Yes. Right? So that gives me a more specific way to apply timing.
Yes, I
Right?
love it.
And
Yeah.
do those days include weekends? Yes. Right? So doing writing on the weekends,
Mm,
right? Which, because nobody usually needs me on the weekends, and so I have more uninterrupted time on the weekends. So just,
mhm.
to get more refined in the timing question.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. And I can sense that I want to just keep it really close to me, like today.
Yeah.
Because if I get too far out, my it's just not good for me.
Yeah.
Just need to stay with what's happening today. What can I work on, or what's in my highest good today? That's the
Yeah,
key.
that's a
That's the
good
key.
question. What's in my
What's in my
highest good?
highest good
So you could
today?
say, is doing this project in my highest good today? Is it doing this project in my highest good
Right.
today? Is
Mm-hmm.
it doing this portion of this project in my highest good today? Right,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a project that's multifaceted, which yours could easily be.
Yes, it's very, yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and to narrow
Mm-hmm.
down what part of it, because just a project might be still too overwhelming
Yeah.
to, but to narrow down working on a project. So yeah, it can be applied to a lot of things, and it really is the question that gets asked that makes a difference. And if
It,
you don't like the answer, then ask the question in a different way.
right. If you're not clear, like, isn't that
Yeah,
like what you're saying is, if you're not really clear about the answer, and yeah, just ask it a different way, because you're probably not asking the right question, or is it in your highest good? You'll feel like, we talked about this before, like when intuition comes, like you really do feel a sense of calmness, like a sense of peace. You don't feel dread, like, oh, I have to do that. Like that's not really
right.
how it happens. When it's like you're aligned with the question that you're asking, you're not asking something totally out in left field that doesn't apply to you or whatever, but it comes with a sense of peace, like relief, like, oh yeah, and to me, that's the magic. Like that's how and why we connect to our intuition, so we don't have to struggle so much.
Yes.
You can just
Yes.
let go of the struggle.
Life is so
Yeah.
much easier trusting intuition. I'm just gonna say that's my experience.
It's mine too. It's definitely mine too.
No
Yeah.
matter what tools I'm using, my life is easier when intuition is leading the way versus my mind. My
Yeah.
mind
So
will make a mess of things if I let it.
mine too. So this was fun.
This
This
was
was fun.
fun. Yes, thank you for saying yes and getting us to be able to create this. So
Oh, you are
yeah,
welcome. This was so much fun. And as always, weaving wisdom with you. I'm always learning something new, and or reminding being reminded of something like, oh yeah, that's why we do this.
Yeah, and it
So,
expands my understanding of
mm,
using tools. This conversation has expanded my,
mhm,
because we've been asking questions about the application, right? So,
yeah.
and the whole moving your body, I don't use that one, but I know other people who do, and so, yeah, if it's a big deal, I might need to. So Dawn and I are gonna do one on a pendulum at some point. We don't know when, but we will be doing one on using a pendulum, so
And it
we'll keep you
might end up
posted.
being before this one, right? Who knows?
Right.
Who knows what order
But we
they'll
are
come
gonna
out with.
record one on doing the pendulum.
Yeah, this will be
Yeah,
great. All right.
thank you.
Thank you.